There we go.
And a good afternoon, good evening to you on Q92's Facebook page, Q92 Radio Sports Facebook page, plus the Q92 stream, as we welcome you into the coaches preview show from St. Harambos, the church in Canton, and myself, Ryan Keller, joining me tonight. My man, good to
Hi.
be with you.
Hi, nice to see you.
Yeah,
Sorry.
you
I was
too.
just zoning out there.
No, you too. And I wanted to get things started. I know we just kind of abruptly started here, but that's just kind of how this thing works because our first coach walked into the room, and that's the head man of the Perry Panthers, and that is Coach Zach Slates, who enters another season at his alma mater, leading the group of Panthers in his fourth season, coming off of a 4-7 year last year. Coach, thanks for stopping by.
Absolutely no problem. Thanks for having me.
We are not hearing you, and I'm not sure why that is.
I'm on mute.
Oh, he's on mute. Unmute him.
Hold on. Technical difficulties. Now talk to me, Coach.
Hello.
Well, that's impressive.
There you go.
All right, we're just going to hand the headset over real quick, see if we can get this figured out. So we're going to talk to Coach Slates here
More important than I am.
in just a moment. Coach, thanks for stopping by, and thanks for being part of this. Coming off of a 4-7 season, going into your fourth year, another off season that you've dealt with, all of the things of being a head coach. What do you like about going into this season?
Yeah, I mean, we bring back a lot of guys this year. It was some rough roads last year. We had a lot of young guys playing. We bring back 9 starters on both sides of the ball, and it was a learning process last year with some of those guys, and we're expecting big things out of our kids this year, and for them to be stepping up and doing good things.
Yeah, I mean, some of the pieces that you returned from last year, obviously an excellent kicker that you bring back in Brock Huggins. I think arguably maybe the best in the county. I think a lot of people would agree with that. Talk to me about having that as a weapon. I know that's not something that people start a lot of, but I felt like you guys were almost always putting people in the touchback situation last year or kicking people into a corner, and I know that's an advantage. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, having a good kicker and punter is a huge thing, and making the other opponent's offense start on the 20 is really big. It's a big advantage for us, and he's done a great job, and he's going to be a deep threat for field goals. He's already got an offer to play college football, so that's been a huge thing for him in the offseason. He's worked really hard. He's gone to a bunch of camps and clinics and things like that to get himself ready to go, and he's worked really hard. He's done a great job, and we weren't really sure about him last year with Carson Basham was going to be our kicker and punter, and he came along, and then Carson got hurt in our first scrimmage and wasn't able to do anything for 6 weeks. So he stepped up and really enjoyed it and has thrived.
We saw a couple games last year that came down to that aspect of the game, the kicking game. So it's nice to have that in your back pocket. Also bringing back Maddox at your quarterback position with a little bit of experience under his belt from last year.
Yeah.
What's he been like so far through camp?
No, he's done a great job. Another kid that's worked hard in the offseason and done all the right things. He's put on about 15, 20 pounds and worked hard in the weight room and doing those things to keep his body right and be more of a physical presence on both sides of the ball. He's going to be playing free safety for us this year too. So he's going to have to be going.
Can you put a number on how important it is to have a guy that has experience at that position?
Oh yeah. I mean, that's huge. I mean, they're the leader of your team typically, and coming in as a sophomore, it's a little scary. And then last year when your starting running back goes down, you get a little defeated, and he was his number one target throwing wise too. So hopefully we can have him throwing the ball more this year and less wear and tear on his body running it.
Coach Slates, we appreciate you stopping by, being the first victim, if you will, of our second year in a row for that 2 years. You're just always the first one.
Hey,
here.
very, very punctual. We like it.
He likes coming to the Greek church. He's a Greek man himself. He smells the domadas from blocks away.
Spent 3 weeks in Greece this summer. So.
Hey,
oh, awesome.
That's right. You're newly married
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That's right. Coach Zach Slates at Perry, thanks for stopping by, my friend.
Absolutely. Thanks for having
Great
me.
luck this year, Coach. Thank you.
Coach Zach Slates of the Perry Panthers, our first coach to stop by and chat with us. Now it's Ryan Keller.
It is.
That was Coach Zach Slates there. We had some technical snafus that unfortunately we did not foresee coming because as good as we are at what we do sometimes, we sometimes just forget.
You never know.
To check things. Going into this year, Keller, we always get excited about football at Q92 because we obviously do 7 games every week and we try to make it to as many different schools as we can. But I think there's a lot of interesting storylines coming into this year. You're coming into a season where you have a reigning state champion in the county, the Massillon Tigers, going 16-0 last year, winning the whole thing in Division II. You come into a year, their cross-county rival, Canton McKinley, has bulked up this offseason, if you will. So. Some kids transferring in, and that's not saying that there were, different things being done. That is just the world of high school football that we live in now, and that happens. You look at the rest of the Federal League. Glen Oak's going to be on the up and up again. Jackson's going to be on the up and up. I think Hoover could be really good again this year with Zach Brocker, and you can never forget about Lake, and you can never forget about Perry. And Green is arguably the team that, kind of flies under the radar most. That's just the Federal League, though. I think you look at the Federal League, it's going to be a very interesting season.
Man, they're so deep, and all these coaches now have had some experience under their belt. The last couple of years, we were talking, going through and seeing the years that these coaches have been at their respective schools, and I think now the least tenured coach in the Federal League is 3 years. I think it's 3 years. So these guys are now having an opportunity with their program, bringing in, having the freshman class all the way through the senior class, or cycling through, and they're getting to build their program. And that stuff takes time. It takes a lot of time for you to get your off-season workouts and your own playbook and your own coaching staff, and to get everybody on the same page. And every single year you see close battles throughout the Federal League, and it's exciting. I'm really I mean, of course, you're always looking forward to it, but there are so many unknowns coming into this year because you kind of feel like anybody on any given day can beat anyone else, and that makes it exciting for not just the entire community, but us as broadcasters as well.
Yeah, and not to put the program on a spot here, but the team that did finish with the least wins within the league last year was Perry, who we just spoke to. But you look at their season last year, and
their losses were very, very close. Every single one of them.
Yeah, St. V by 2 points week 2. They lost to Hoover in the 6th week of the season by 3 in overtime. They lost a close contest to Glen Oak late in the year by 5. So, just a year of very, very close losses and close potential tough things coming down the stretch of the year. Next coach stepping in now, Coach Brian Gamble of the Sandy Valley Cardinals, stepping in here to chat with us. Coach Gamble, how you doing, my friend? Good,
how you doing?
Good to have you on again this year. Coming off of a 7-5 year last year, the Sandy Valley Cardinals, a year where some really, really good things happened for the program. And I think it's always nice, Coach, to look at the end of the year and say, well, the team that knocked us out was the state champion. And that's who it was. You lost to Perry from Lake County 34-7 to end the year. Did that kind of leave a different taste in the mouth, knowing that the team that took you guys out was the eventual state champion?
With those seniors, it's always tough to end the season that way. I mean, yes, they ended up winning. They were darn good. It's one of the best teams we've ever gone against, with Kirtland included in all those times with those battles. That's probably one of the best teams we've ever gone against. But I tell you, with those seniors and what they did last year and how special that was, it was tough to say goodbye. It is a tough way to end. But I mean, anytime that, if you're not the state champion, it's going to have to happen. And again, it happened that way. And but I'm real proud of our guys. Real proud of that season for sure.
I know last year a lot of what you guys did started and finished with the guy playing the quarterback position, Nick Petro, as it often does. And so many offenses. I know this year you are Petroless on the team,
Yeah.
to say one thing.
Absolutely.
And not just the talent offensively, but defensively as well. Which guys have been able to pick up that slack in the offseason, Coach?
Well, I tell you, we like both of our quarterbacks right now in the quarterback room. Drew Graybill, he was able to, as a true freshman, he won some games for us. Beat Manchester as a true freshman when Nick went down with a shoulder injury. He's got really good command of the offense. And then he's a junior. And then we have a sophomore, Caleb Dubner. He's a dual threat kid, tall, fast, can run, can throw, can do a lot of multiple dimensions. And we like them both right now. And so right now we're giving them equal reps and just kind of, no one's really separated themselves. It's kind of it's been a horse race, and we're comfortable with using both if we have to.
Coach, you got your first scrimmage coming up on Saturday. It's crazy to believe that it's here already. Talking about those two quarterbacks going into that first scrimmage, do you use those scrimmages as a good gauge of who could potentially move up into that number one slot, or is it a combination of just everything throughout the offseason and this early preseason?
I mean, I think it's a little bit of both. You know what I mean? Use scrimmages as evaluation of talent. Of in-game talent. There's one thing when there's a tape on the ground for a passing scrimmage, but then there's another when bullets are flying a little bit. And so, when doing those things, it's constant evaluation within the off season, and then obviously when we're scrimmaging, we're in live. We get to see, is this guy a gamer? Is there a box that needs to be checked? Here and there, and we get to learn and we get to evaluate, and then we'll just kind of see where we're at after that.
Yeah, it kind of gives you a little different feel when it's not your own teammates who are coming after you.
That's right. It's not. We want to make them a little bit more uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Than what it is right now.
Yeah.
Coach, you look at the start of the season last year compared to where you're at this year, and I pulled up the starting lineup that you gave me before the start of the season last year. I still had it in my email.
Okay.
You had a senior at quarterback. You had a senior at running back. You had a senior at two of the wide receivers with Greer and with Morris and Troy Snyder. You return Lucas Gilland, who I know is a big piece. Weston Little was a captain that was named. That whole offense, essentially, a lot of the skill guys are gone.
Yes.
How do you recalibrate? What do you do to make sure that the other guys that maybe weren't getting those reps last year are comfortable in the system this year, knowing that they don't have a ton of experience?
Well, the big thing is development. I mean, I think last year, we gave those guys reps in practice. We gave those guys, scrimmage reps. They played a lot on JV. They got a lot of reps, spelling some of those seniors in practice. So they've got a ton of reps. A lot of those, sophomores and juniors and seniors that are seniors now that have put their time in, put their work in. And so now it's just their time to shine. These guys a lot of these guys that are graduating and gone, the guys behind them have been waiting their whole lives for this opportunity. And, they're excited for it. And they've been working hard and just real proud of the way where we're at right now.
By contrast, defense maybe seems like it might be a little bit ahead at this point because you maybe have a couple more guys back. And I know the linebacking core is kind of still intact.
Still intact. Yep, the linebacking core is intact. The back half. They were interchangeable with the athletes we have. So a lot of guys have gained. Maybe not be the starter of the game, but they're playing a lot. And then some of our guys up front, have rotated in. So we've got a lot of guys with some quarters. Maybe not just the starting lineup that's out there on that paper.
Coach Ryan Gamble of the Sandy Valley Cardinals, appreciate you stopping by.
I appreciate that.
We look forward to seeing you. One of our first games of the year.
Yeah, and his opponent
at Sandy Valley.
There he is.
Fairless will be the team they're playing, and Coach AJ Sarbaugh. These two are going to meet and probably throw some fists at each other as they're walking by each other. No, they're not actually going to do that. Coach Gamble, appreciate the time.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, best of luck this year. Coach Ryan Gamble of the Sandy Valley Cardinals. Next guy stepping in here, AJ Sarbaugh, the head football coach of the Fairless Falcons, which, by the way, we did not say it, but our first three games
on Thursday
this year, Thursday night, we'll have Canton Central Catholic Perry.
Yeah.
We'll have Sandy Valley against Fairless, and the game you'll be at, Keller.
Yeah. Warren Harding at Tom Benson taking on Camp McKinley Bulldogs.
It's unique that you get 3 games like that on a Thursday night, let alone having 3 great matchups like that, 2 that are in county matchups, out of conference but in county, and then obviously one that's a classic rivalry between McKinley and Harding. And AJ Sarbaugh, head coach of the Fairless Falcons,
How we
stepped
doing?
in. Good. How are you?
I'm good.
It's good to see you.
You too.
As always. Last time AJ and I sat next to each other, we were in Oberlin for the Hoover Jackson baseball game. It was his birthday too. So
Yeah.
it was.
And
It
you
was-
had to spend it with him? Oh, man.
I was driving up to Oberlin, which is a story in itself. Why is Hoover Jackson playing a regional semi at Oberlin? But we could talk all night about that. And John texted me, said, "Hey, you want to do the game with me? It's your birthday." And I said, "I'll be there in about 20 minutes. I'm in."
He stepped in and he didn't just give an effort. He gave like a master's Sunday effort. He went out there and he made every putt coming down the stretch. Coach, coming off of a year last year where some good, some bad. You could say that about every season, but there were a lot of games that you got down to the end of the game and you guys were in them, but you couldn't necessarily close things out a lot of times. Tell me about how that's been a learning process for this group coming to this year, and can you reflect a lot on last year because you do graduate quite a bit?
Yeah, I mean, we lost 4 games by a touchdown or less. 3 of them we were tied in the fourth quarter. You were at Northwest, Canton South, and Sandy Valley. The other one was Orville. So we've got quite a few guys back on both sides of the ball. We've got to replace Carson Colucci, Gio Moore, and Xavier Collier, who are all playing D2 football. I don't know if that's ever happened for Fairless, so 3 really good individual players, but we've got 7 or 8 guys back both ways it started, and hopefully we're a year smarter, a year stronger, a year faster, and we've got to learn how to finish games to not be 4-7 and go on the road to South Range in the first round of the playoffs, but that was a really good learning experience. I think for those guys, it was a touchdown game at halftime, which I don't think a lot of people expected, but we learned how to play against a really high quality opponent. They were defending state champ. It was a physical game, get on a bus. And that was all part of the learning year. So now those guys are back. They're a year older. And like you said, hopefully we know how to finish games in the fourth quarter. And that's the difference between 4-7 or 7-3, 8-2.
Well, and last year I know a hopeful big piece coming to the year was Peter Kelle at running back, and you and I were talking. I remember I think it was like week 6, and I was like, "Why hasn't Peter Kelle played?" And you were like, "Well, he's been injured," and I didn't know that, and I don't think a lot of people realized it because you were just plugging and playing guys, and it did become that next man up mentality. But how exciting is it knowing that you've got a healthy PK maybe coming into this year?
Yeah, it's very exciting. I mean, PK as a sophomore had 800 yards. And if you guys remember, we had Brody Pumnio and Luke Yoder, who both had over 1,000 yards receiving. So for him to have 800 rushing as a sophomore, when those 2 guys were getting the ball an awful lot, we were really excited for him as a junior. And you never want to see kids get hurt, but I think it's made him hungrier. And he realized the opportunity he has to play high school football and how much he missed not playing with his buddies last year. So it gave us a chance to develop some other guys, and we've got 5 or 6 linemen back. Peter's healthy right now, so hopefully he has a great year for us and we can block up front and pound the football a little bit.
And having those offensive linemen too, I played offensive line. I know how important it is to build that camaraderie and relationship with the guy to your right or the guy to your left, so on and so forth. And that has to be a huge part. You've got a running back with a lot of experience. You've got an offensive line coming back. You kind of feel like it's time to ground and pound and go at it.
Yeah, we've got 5 of our top 6 linemen back from last year. 6 of our 7 started a game last year. And that's just kind of the way it is, I guess, when you're at a cycle school.
Yeah.
Last year we had 1 senior O-lineman, and in 2022 we had 4 senior O-linemen and 1 junior. So this year we're going to have 5 senior linemen and probably a couple juniors that play up front. But we're in that cycle where they've got a year of experience. They've played those other D linemen. They know how fast the game goes and how physical you have to be and looking at stunts and blitzes. So I think that'll help them out and PK. But like you said, playing with the guy beside you, getting those reps, those are invaluable.
Yep.
Coach, I know last year, as you said, it was the Carson Colucci show so much of the time offensively. I know the guy that I saw taking snaps behind him was Mike Ritterbeck last year. I know he's only going to be a sophomore this year. Is he the heir apparent coming to this year? Or has there been a quarterback competition?
No, it's Mikey. And honestly, I love Mikey Ritterbeck. Like, this is another thing. Being at a small school, high school sports, Mikey Ritterbeck's a 3-sport guy. He played basketball last year, dressed varsity, and he was our starting shortstop as a freshman.
Wow.
He was top 5 in the county for RBIs. So he hasn't started at quarterback. You guys did the Canton South game. He actually started at DB that game and the Manchester game at the end of the year because of injuries, and he's played varsity competition in a pretty pressure position at shortstop. So there's going to be some growing pains there with him, but he's a competitor. He's very coachable. He's athletic, and our kids follow him. So obviously Carson Clucci was very, very talented, finished 6th in the county in passing yards. Blessed to coach Carson, but we're excited for what Mikey can do and what his future looks like.
So I want to ask both of you something. Did you guys get the new NCAA football game?
Absolutely.
I have not.
You've not.
I want to, but like, no one tells you when you have kids that you have to pay for childcare and formula and diapers. So when you have 2 teacher salaries and 2 kids under 3, like that kind of takes priority.
One of those kids has to miss a meal. I mean,
So I bring this up for one reason, because I've done games everywhere in this county, and I don't know if there's anyone that comes up with more creative formations than you do, AJ. I mean, every week there's some new wrinkle or formation that you put into it. How much time do you spend coming up with just different looks to give people? Because I feel like you will literally formation the hell out of people, and it's just what you want to do.
Well, our coaching staff last week, because we started putting stuff in at Mount, our one assistant, Chad Butcher, said, I think AJ just goes home, lays on his bed, and throw darts up at the formations on the top of the ceiling. And then he goes, oh, I like that. I don't know, but that's what, like, Coach Hertler did a ton of formations. We did a lot of formations at Mount. It was players, formations, plays. And a guy I've learned a lot from, Jay Sherritt, who was the head coach at Pick Central. They formation and go unbalanced. So I feel like I've had a lot of people that I look up to that have ran a bunch of different stuff. And I'm just trying to put our kids in the best position to be successful, because we're not going to be able to just line up in the eye and pound people. We've got to get good looks. We have to formation people, like you said, and our kids have fun with it because it's something new. We're not just in the same formation, running the same play. And I think the last few years have shown it, but it gives us a great chance to win. Even last year, didn't win as much as you won, obviously, but we were in pretty much every game.
And it made it so much fun.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, I always had fun calling Fairless games. It's always great to be out there, and we'll see you week 1. Between,
Awesome. We're looking
Sandy
forward to
and
it.
Fairless.
Thank God we're not in Oberlin.
Yeah. If they had put that game in Oberlin, I would have had some questions.
We're just happy the Gamble Sarbaugh game is in Stark County.
It's amazing to have Gamble and Sarbaugh on 2 sidelines, considering that both your dads coached as long as they did.
I mean, my dad still coaches for me, and then Frank coaches for Brian. And then in the spring, obviously my dad and brother coach Hoover baseball. Brian's brother and dad coach Jackson baseball. Jeez. And that's great for us.
And your sister coaches too, right?
Well, Natalie's the head basketball coach at Malvern. Adrian's the head softball coach at East Kent. My brother Ryan coaches at Malone. But that's what me and Brian said. We went to Jackson, and our kids were all playing with each other, tackling each other. We actually got to watch the game. We're like, can Hoover Jackson play all the time? They can just tackle each other. We can actually get to watch.
Coach funny. AJ, appreciate it, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
We'll see you in a couple weeks here.
You. Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Coach AJ Sarbaugh of the Fairless Falcons stopping by. Always great to have conversations with Coach Sarbaugh. And we'll welcome in our next coach here, Coach Speakman of the Minerva Lions. And so far, we've talked to head coach of the Perry Panthers in Zach Slates, talked to Sandy Valley's Brian Gamble, just spoke to AJ Sarbaugh from the Fairless Falcons. And all of this that we are riding along with you tonight is powered by SARTA. We want to thank them, get that in here as part of making this possible on Q92 and Q92radiosports.com. Coach Tim Speakman of the Minerva Lions. Coach, thanks for stopping by over here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I know we talked to you last year, and so much of your time the last couple years has been spent over getting, I guess, I won't say the basics, but those fundamentals where they need to be for the program. You're entering a new season last year, and you put a lot of work into it now. Where do you feel that process and that progress is at, Coach?
Well, you're exactly right. I think the number one thing when I first got here 2 years ago, there was three major things that we had to change. Number one, we had to change a culture. And that was wanting to win and expecting to win. I think they got used to over the years where the program kind of has taken a hit. They were used to losing, and they accepted that. And we had to change that culture that we got to get back to our old Minerva football, and that's winning. And if you want to be successful at anything, you have to work hard at it. And we had to change that culture that it's first started in the weight room. Because when I first got here, we were really behind. We were about 3 years behind in the weight room. And if you can't physically compete with the teams that you're playing, you're not going to have much success, no matter what you draw up on the offense or defense. So that was number one. And I can tell you this has been the best summer that we've had since I've been here, for our kids being committed to the weight room, parents being committed to getting our kids there. So that has been a huge plus. You talked about the fundamentals. Football IQ was one of the second things that we needed to improve. Just little things like knowing the field, knowing how to use landmarks, the hash marks, the numbers, spacing, that type of stuff. Knowing situational football, third and short versus third and long, those type of things. So it's taken us 2.5 years to really implement that and to get some improvement. And without a doubt, we've seen that improvement with the football IQ. We've seen the improvement with our strength in the weight room. So I'm so happy about that. And more than anything, because our kids have been working hard, our culture is changing.
And that has to help too with, being there, going into your fourth year, going into your third year, having those players who were freshmen and sophomores who are now your sophomores and juniors and seniors, being able to bring them up through your program and not have to try to teach that culture for them to come in and that be an expectation for your program, has to really help this off season and moving that team forward.
Kelle, you're so right. We only have 6 seniors, but I can tell you this: those 6 seniors are leaders, and they have bought in, not just on the football field and the commitment there, but in the classroom. And when you just come in our locker room now, it's a different locker room. And those seniors are a big reason for it. They're such good kids. They've worked so hard. They've bought into it, and they know more than anything what we expect on and off the field. And they've been great leaders. So without a doubt, that has been a huge plus for us.
Coach, I want to say that, we have a group text that we share every night at the games that we're doing, and we always want to see Minerva coming out on top in those scores, because we know how hard it's been for the last couple of years. And when you guys had Crestwood down last year at the half, when I say that we were all as excited as could be and so upset that we weren't there for it, I mean, I'm not lying about that. You can ask Keller, you can ask, we were so excited for you. That little taste that you got, I think you guys were up like 22-8 at the half.
That is correct.
And then you lose, I think, like 36-22, somewhere in there.
Yes, sir.
Getting that taste, having that experience, and getting the guys to see we have an opportunity here. What did that do, and what taste has that left in the mouth for these kids?
That definitely left a bad taste. But
was it motivational, though?
It definitely was motivational, and we had to grow on that you have to learn how to finish. And that was a big thing. Now, not to make excuses, but we have so many of our kids that have to play both ways. So, when you get into that late third quarter and fourth quarter and your kids are starting to run out of gas, we have to do a better job as a coaching staff to make sure our kids are in shape. Number one, we have to build that depth to give kids some breaks here and there. But more than anything, our kids have to learn how to finish and know how to finish. And, in that Crestwood game being one of the top ones last year, we just did not know how to finish, and our kids didn't know how to finish. So that is something that we incorporated into the weight room, believe it or not, in our summer football activities, is to learning how to finish things. Even when you're tired and exhausted, you have to learn how to finish.
And I think that's an interesting point too, because when I played in high school, our coaches always said we might not be the biggest, we might not be the strongest, we might not be the fastest, but at the end of the day, when it comes down to the end of the game, we are going to be the best conditioned team out there. And you don't really realize it when you're going through your 2-a-days or 3-a-days and you're running wind sprints and doing all that kind of stuff. But when it does come down to the fourth quarter of a game, or it comes down to later in the season when your bodies get worn down, those things pay dividends. And to see that, that's a focus of your team this offseason. The guys might hate running those sprints when it's 90 degrees outside at the end of a practice, but they're going to appreciate it come later in the year when that conditioning really pays off.
Yes, sir. Well, I can tell you one of the things that I've, talked to all of our coaches and made it a concerted effort for us to make sure that during their individual drills is where we had to create our drills to get them into shape. I am not a big fan on at the end of a practice going and running wind sprints and gassers and that type of thing, because the kids are already tired and then they don't give 100% because they are tired. We wanted to incorporate those things into our individual drills. And one of the things that we emphasize more than anything in our drills is that we're going to be on the move all the time. We're not going to be standing around, and more than anything, you're not going to walk on the football field. Yeah. Even when we give a water break, you're going to jog to the water. You're not going to walk. And so our coaches have done a fantastic job of incorporating our fitness and trying to get us in shape during our individual drills.
It's a hungry community that wants to see wins, that Minerva community. And Coach Tim Speakman of the Minerva Lions, we hope that this is the year that things turn that corner, and we will be with you. And be at 2 of the games early in the year. We'll be at the Springfield game, and then we'll be coming down for the St. Thomas game. So, Coach, we wish you the best of luck this year, and thanks for stopping by.
I thank you so much, you guys, and we appreciate everything that you guys do.
Thank you, Coach.
Absolutely.
All right, take care.
Coach Tim Speakman of the Minerva Lions stopping by here. We've got a line that is formed of coaches off to our right over here, and those coaches. First one coming through, Coach Chris Kappas now of the Louisville Leopards, stopping by, taking a seat, and he's heading into his second year as the head man of Louisville, coming off of a 1-9 season last year. Coach, we just talked so much about expectations with Coach Speakman and what that means. And I know last year when you and I talked that a big thing for you and for the program was building those expectations back up at Louisville. Year 1 to year 2, how are those expectations different, not for you, but for the kids?
I think it's dramatically different right now. I think the kids from last year, there wasn't a lot of confidence coming in. Not a lot of winning going on, and it's tough to change that in one brief off season when I got there a little bit late. And first time being a head coach and first time coaching high school football, it was a very humbling and different experience for me as well. And I feel like even for me heading into year 2, I feel like I gained 10 years of experience.
Wow.
Right there. But we have a very strong senior class coming in that have really taken the reins and bought into everything that we're doing, and have really, not taken it as, hey, we're seniors and this is like, they want to build the program up and leave a legacy. So, that's we're trying to build a program, right? We're trying to build it from the ground up. And there's been some significant changes that we've made that, thankfully I've got an administration that's fully behind me and willing to make some changes that ruffle some feathers, maybe a little bit in the community. But, it's all going in a very, very good direction. And, if you keep operating at a level with high expectations and high standards, eventually the wins are going to come. So that's where we're at right now. It's
exciting to hear.
Far, yeah.
Keller?
It kind of feels too like the carousel of coaches that was over at Louisville. They finally found someone who's fully committed to this program and who, like you said, wants to put it in that right direction and build that legacy there at Louisville. So that has to put maybe a little bit of pride on you as well coming into this and being like, I'm here for this program and for this team. I'm not going to be a one and done, because we saw that many years at Louisville. And that has to resonate with your players a little bit as well, knowing that you are so committed to that program.
Yeah. And, there was a little bit of a carousel there coupled with the COVID years. And, it was a tough stretch of, 3, 4, 5 years there that, there wasn't much continuity. There was, between coaching staffs. And, there was never the ability almost for, to set a foundation of what's to come. Right. Cause we always talk about that, whether it's life or football, you have to know who you are, what you believe in, and have a true core values of this is what we stand for. This is what we're about. And, our kid, I finally feel like we have a foundation to stand on as a program, and our guys have really embraced it. And, it's been fun to see.
3 guys that stood out to me last year that maybe didn't get the time because of injuries or different things, but I know are big pieces coming to this year. Austin Wade, Colton Loy, Tate Aljancic. And I bring up those 3, Coach, because they were part of something other than just what you're on. They were part of a basketball team that Coach Tom Siegfried has built, that the expectation is they want to win district championships. They want to win regional championships. How big is it to have those 3 guys as a cornerstone, knowing that they expect winning? Yeah,
those 3 guys, that they believe that we can win, because they've seen it through their program, and Coach Siegfried's done an outstanding job building a program, right? And from the ground up, from the grassroots level all the way up, and those guys expect to win in basketball. They do. And getting those guys to have that same approach to football, and now those guys have a turn to take the leadership. They've been great, and they're the ones out there setting the example every single day of, here's how we work, here's what it takes, and grabbing the youngest guys and bringing those guys along and saying, this is
for the ride.
Yeah. But this is how you act when you're a senior, right? Because they've seen that at when they were brought up through their basketball program too. So those guys are great leaders for us. Expected all 3 of those guys to have tremendous senior seasons, and they've worked their tails off, and they put the work in, and the benefits are going to work out here soon.
Coach Chris Kappas of the Louisville Leopards, we so appreciate you stopping by, and we can't wait to come out to Leopard Stadium the first time this year.
Yes, sir. Can't wait. Thank
Coach,
you. Thanks, guys.
Best of luck, Coach. Thank you.
Line of 6 coaches has formed. We have been told
we're
we're going to try to rapid fire these off.
And again, thank you to Sarda for helping us out here with the coaches football preview here.
A coach we did not get to speak to last year. He floated past us last year.
Sorry about that.
That's Coach Joe Cardinal of the Marlington Dukes in his second year, correct? Yes. At the helm of the Dukes. 6-4 season last year, Coach. Year 2 for you. Put this into perspective for us, kind of where you're at and where you feel the program is at right now.
Yeah. Well, numbers are up. We'll have 24 freshmen this year, so we'll actually have a freshman team. So that'll be nice. We should be mid 60s overall. Last year we were low 50s.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that's really nice to do that. Going into year 2, when you know your guys, it makes it easier for you. You're trying to learn everybody, what they're good at, what they where they excel. So year 2 makes it a lot easier. Knowing personality, knowing how these guys play, knowing where to put some of these guys. It's easier for sure.
You've got a kid that he can sling it around the yard too a little bit.
He can.
Bryce McCord.
Yeah.
I know he got hurt last year.
He did.
And that was a big loss when he went down.
Mm-hmm.
Going into year 2 with him, knowing what he can do, does that open the offense up more for you? Does it change how you approach things on that side of the ball?
Yeah. I mean, he's easy to talk to because he's now a coach on the field. This will be his 3rd year actually as the starter. Second with me. I mean, through 6 games, I think he threw for 1,400 plus last year.
Cow.
Yeah. So we kind of give him free reign in games to get us into plays he likes. He's got free reign to audible with a receiver. Just tremendous overall. It's really nice. And then in practice, he talks all the time. He's one of our vocal, if not our most vocal leader, which is always good when it's your quarterback. But he'll be, after he throws a pass, he'll say, "Hey, I threw this because of this," or "Hey, I did this because of this," and it's great.
Coach on the
great.
field.
It's like
Yeah.
230 yards per game, by the way.
Is that? Yeah.
Let's put that in. Go, Keller.
Yeah, no, I mean, having that leadership and someone who has been around and kind of knows the system and someone that you can rely on as well, it has to be huge because in the games and stuff, you're on the sideline.
Yeah.
So he's able to go to the huddle and give the direction and know the mindset of the coaching staff as well.
Yeah, it's great. Just when you even talk with him or meet with him, he's a big suggestion kid, and we love that. Hey, I like this because of this. Now,
Those are hard to come by sometimes.
yeah, well, I know. So the best thing is he can always explain why. It's sometimes, hey, I want to throw this route. Well, why? Well, because I like the receiver. No, it's because the safety is doing this, the corner's doing this. Hey, I'm getting a blitz here. He's a student of the game. He'll play next year somewhere.
That's really cool to hear and awesome to hear. And Coach Joe Cardinal going into his second year at Marlington, coming off of a 6-4 year. Coach, we've got that line forming behind you, and
Yep.
we appreciate you stopping by. And
Absolutely.
we can't wait to see the Dukes in action.
All
this
right,
year.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for stopping by here, Coach. Coach Joe Cardinal of the Marlington Dukes. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
Up next, Coach Matt Dennison of the Canton South Wildcats. Again, we thank you for riding home with us today. Thanks to Sarda. I'm going to play that little thing all day. That it's like riding of some element. Coach Matt Dennison, Coach, you and I got pretty used to talking to each other last year. I feel like there might have been a point where you and I spoke about as much as you and your wife spoke.
At that time, probably right.
Probably was. We were talking a lot, and it's because you had a great year. 14-1, the greatest year in South history. Coming off of a year like that, is it fun or is it tough? Where do you put kind of how this year feels coming off of a season like that?
Well, it's always fun coming out and having that type of a year, but you get to January and then things have to start over again. And that's luckily we didn't have a whole lot of problems with that. Our kids were excited, but you graduated a pretty good senior class. If you go 14-1, that means you have great seniors.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a great senior class. One in particular was pretty good. And
I don't know who that would be.
yeah, and we had to, we talked a lot, and we pushed the hard work, the work ethic stuff, and our kids got after it, and we talked to our kids. This is a program year. We're building a program at South. We're not just going to be, hey, when we got talent, we got a good team. Other than that, we're just going to be So the big point of emphasis with our kids this year is, hey, we're not going away. We're a program, and we're going to be good every year.
Wow, that's what every team and every community strives for. And I know that you had that when you were at New Philly. How long did it take for you to establish that there? And was it about the same timetable that you're on here?
It's a totally different experience, I guess. I was a young coach back then. Now I'm more seasoned. So I think I'm hoping that helps, having done that before. I went to Claymont. We turned things around there. We went to Philly, turned things around there, and then stayed for a long time at Philly. But it's a different feel. We didn't make it to the state semifinals in our third year at Philly. So it took a little more time there. We were really good right away. We had consistency right away, but there was a richer tradition there, and people were ready for it. So it's a little bit new to our people at South, and there's still people like, okay, what's going to happen now? And that culture that we're building, I think, is really starting to pay off, and our people are buying in pretty hard. So it's a totally different situation. I'm an older guy now, so I hopefully have a little more experience with it.
Do you find the underclassmen from last year now want to carry that torch maybe more than before? There are still pieces left. I know Landon Karavik, an outstanding linebacker that you have back, will undoubtedly be a key piece this year. Zion Culver, amongst others that you have. He was hurt a lot of last year. But does having a season like that where Poochie and Tavon and all those guys took you on the deep run, is it like passing the torch now and saying, okay, we planted the flag here. Now you take it and you plant it further?
Absolutely. One thing we've talked about is the standard's been set. There are standards in what we expect to live up to in our program, and that's what
that's what that group last year did. They set a high standard. And, the nice thing is you have a guy like Pucci, who's, one of the top 2 leaders that I've ever coached. And they see how things should be done the right way. And all these young kids saw how, he was the best player on our team, but he was the hardest worker on our team. And he invested the most on our team. So our kids see that and they see what it takes to be great. And that didn't fall on deaf ears with our kids. There is a heightened sense of, this is how we do things now. And, we've had a great off season. Our practices have been awesome. We're not chasing kids. They're where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be there. So, that's, it's been a real fun off season, and our kids understand the standard. They understand how practice is supposed to go, and did well.
Coach, we appreciate the time. I saw Pucci this offseason right before he headed up to Sacred Heart. He served me my lunch one day when I was at Harmon's.
Yes.
Harmon's Pub, and it was good to see him there. I'm happy to see that he's doing well. And Coach, I hope the ride is similar this year to what it was last year.
Yes, we do too.
I know that's a lot to ask for, but Coach, best of luck with this season. Coach Matt Dennison, thanks for stopping by.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Yeah,
Thanks,
absolutely. Coach Matt Dennison of the Canton South Wildcats. Hoover coach Brian Baum next year.
Looking good, Coach. Looking good.
On the program here, the Football Coaches Preview Show, Coach Brian Baum of the Hoover Vikings, entering his 10th year as the head man of the Vikings. Coach, when I first started talking to you, there were no gray hairs in that beard.
That's 10 years there, baby.
some gray hairs there now. 10 years. That's enough time to not just build a program, but establish what it is that you want to do and what the cornerstones of that program are. In 10 years, where do you feel the program was to where it is now?
We first got there, we didn't feel real competitive yet. We had to build up the weight room. That was our first goal. We've got that done. That's part of the culture. The attitude, the effort, the family piece. We pump those 3 values every day, and absolutely our kids are bought into that, and we've moved forward. And, one of the things I always talk about is, our success is you watch our student section. Any given Friday night, we have the best student section in the state, in my opinion. It fills up big. The kids are wild. It's crazy. It's a great experience. And, seeing that connection with our players, our staff, and into that student section is really a great experience for me, and seeing that. And I know we're doing the right thing with our staff, with the amount of kids we have. We have 82 kids, 10 through 12, lots of freshmen, lots of 8th graders. So, football numbers are healthy in North Canton, and people are still crazy about it in North Canton. It's a great community.
Coach, you guys are bringing in some really key pieces on your defense, both your defensive ends, your linebackers, your secondary. They say defense wins championships. It has to be good to have that type of leadership and that type of production coming back into your team this year.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of guys were returning, got a lot of experience. We expected a big year. The defensive side. Now we've had a couple guys get dinged up and injured, and so we got to find that depth and keep driving forward with that. And but you got those guys out there. They just know what to expect. And I was just telling the coaches in the hall, I was like, our guys are ready to hit somebody else. They're tired of going against each other, trying to see somebody else. And we see that Friday night with Ashland. So we're excited for another opportunity to grow and get better as a team.
Coach, I know the last couple of years you guys have been blessed to have a couple of pretty good quarterbacks. You had that kid named Connor Ashby, and then you had another kid named Carson Derlin. They were both okay. They were okay. You come into this year though, and I know that competition is kind of up in the air. You have John Collins, who's a junior. You have Zach Brocker, who's a senior, who's kind of more of an athlete. I'm sure you want to keep him in his spot, but you also want to put the best guy at the best position. How's that quarterback competition going?
Both those guys need to be on the field. They're going to be a quarterback and receiver. There's times where I watch Brock run down the field and Collins hits him in the stride. Man, that's a great combination. And then you got big John Collins' body coming across the middle, and Brocker hits him. That's a great combination. So it is good things. They bring a little bit of difference to the run game. Brocker's, quick kid, where John's that big power kid. And, so we're going to utilize both guys, and I expect that going forward. And, we'll see how it all plays out in the end. But those two guys are good quality quarterbacks, and they give us a chance to win.
Coach, it used to be that they said that if you had 2 quarterbacks, you had no quarterbacks, but that seemed to change so much in the last couple of years. Why do you think that is?
It's how you use people. I go back to Lake. I was just talking to George. They had the Butler kid that ran the power stuff. When he came in, you knew it was coming, but good luck.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'll be honest, good luck stopping that. And, but that mindset of, as long as you're being smart with how you utilize these guys and the packages that they have, and, and you get enough time to rep. I would say the biggest thing is rapport with the receivers. And we have been going hard with those two all summer to get that ready and get that out there. And, I'm excited for both those guys.
Coach Brian Baum looking sharp as always. Got the fit check with the the great Nike shoes that he's got going on. Him and Coach Rohr always do that over at his rival Jackson. Coach, thanks for stopping by.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Good luck to the Hoover Vikings this year, Coach Brian Baum of the Vikings. And again, our coach's preview show powered by SARTA here. And we bring in Coach Dan DeGeorge. And I want to introduce him correctly here. It's not just Coach Dan DeGeorge. It is the longest tenured coach in Stark County, Coach Dan DeGeorge.
Yeah, how about that?
We did the research. We did the math. 12 years, Coach, that you have been at Lake. We think you're the longest tenured coach. How does that feel?
Yeah, you guys making me feel old right out of the gate, huh? Appreciate it. Good to see you guys too.
Welcome
Good to see you.
You don't look it though. That's
No.
the good thing.
I just want to point out that Coach Garcia is not. It might not be consecutive, but he's his
Correct.
16th year
Yeah.
as head coach. He's next in line. He said to hurry this up. He's getting tired standing in the hallway.
See, we debated between you and him because we were like, well, it hasn't been consecutive. Like, Coach Dan has been at Lake
Sure.
the whole time. Like, so.
No, I'll take it. Yeah, it's a great place to be. So love what I do.
I mean, that's a great thing too, to have a school and a program that, you see so much turnover in a lot of these head coaching positions for you to be there for such a long period of time that shows the trust in the school and the community and your athletes. And you've done great things over there at that Lake program.
Yeah, no, I've been blessed, and I was lucky enough to coach under Coach Jeff Thurman for a long time, which is a great mentor, one of the best coaches I've ever been around. And I was his offense coordinator for 11 plus years. And we live in the district, 4 kids that go to Lake schools. My wife is also a teacher there. So for us, it's home, man. Like, we bleed blue, our whole family, and just been blessed to really enjoy going to work every day.
Coach, when I think of Lake, I get an image of basically Matt Christopher, the guy with the big pad
Neck
going
pad.
up behind his helmet. And,
Yeah.
and you've got another Christopher this year. You've got his son, Charlie, but you've also got another Lippy. You've got Ryan, which is Steve's son.
Sure.
Having those two kind of as your two anchors defensively, knowing that they're the sons of D1 guys. I mean, what type of intensity has that brought to the field? And how do those guys help lead day in and day out?
Yeah, both very, very good high school players. Both 3-year letter winners for us. Charlie's a 3-year starter at linebacker. Ryan will be a 2-year starter at defensive end. Ryan's also going to play some offensive line for us. Charlie's also going to carry the ball for us this year. So they're going to be playing a lot more football. Both their dads were legends at Lake. Both went on to play Division I football, and they were very, very good football players. That was before my time, but both Ryan and Charlie, man, have written their own story as well. They're just both very, very good leaders. They were just named yesterday as 2 of our 4 captains. Rightfully so, because not just how good of football players they are, but more importantly, just really good quality kids, both on and off the field. So excited about our defense, excited for them to lead us up front in the box. We should be pretty good. Got to fill some other holes, but we got those 2 guys leading us. We got a chance.
Is that part of the beauty too of that bleeding blue and that rock'em blue kind of atmosphere, is that you don't just coach the community, you coach generations too?
Yeah.
Is that the beauty of it?
No, that's one of the things that I'm just now, and again, here I am making myself sound old, right? But
sorry, I'm not trying to do it to you, by the way.
Starting to have some sons of players that I coached when I was first at Lake, right? And that is a pretty special thing to coach a kid's dad, and then to see their kids come through our program as well. That's what it's all about. So yeah, that makes it a lot of fun.
9-4 last year. A year after making it to the regional final, 2 really good years in a row. They had Massillon down too in the first quarter, threw a long touchdown pass early in the game. So, Coach Dan DeGeorge of the Lake Blue Streaks, best of luck this year, Coach, and we'll see you out on the field.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks for what you do.
Sorry
Thanks,
we
Coach.
made you feel old too.
That's all right. You're good. You're good.
Coach Dan DeGeorge of the Lake Blue Streaks stopping by. Up next, the man who he was just ragging on a little bit. The guy who we could say is the oldest tenured coach in the county, but also just a guy who has lived and breathed Glen Oak football his entire life, playing there, going there, now coaching there, and that is Coach Scott Garcia of the Glen Oak Golden Eagles. Coach,
how you guys doing?
Good,
thanks for stopping
Coach.
by.
Nice to see you.
You too. You too.
Coach, I know you took the job again a couple years ago because you're athletic director, and you said, you know what, this is my child, this is my baby. I built it up all to this, and then it kind of came down. You've got the program, I feel, back now. It seemed like you had it there last year. How much fun was last year to reestablish Glen Oak football?
Yeah, it was. It was a process. We knew it going in. It was going to take a little time, and it was a challenge. And our kids, they accepted what they had to do, and we ended up getting some wins. It was kind of like learning how to win again.
Yeah, I mean,
and
two games that stand out in particular to me: one, the win at McKinley, and then two, that playoff win. Having those two sandwiched by a tough win against Perry, that kind of 3-week stretch there. What did that feel like? Did that kind of feel like, hey, we're back?
It did. It was fun again. It was our kids expected to win, and that was a big deal.
Coach, your skilled positions coming into this year. Jerome Cox is coming back. Adrian Burt at your quarterback position. You've got some great skill at the wide receiver. An explosive kind of offense coming into this season. That has to really kind of brighten your eyes a little bit to have that experience and that skill set coming back.
Yeah, it's nice because they've been through the program now, and they understand. We can actually move on a little bit and progress as the playbook goes. And there's some things we didn't do the last few years that we wanted to do, but just weren't ready for it. And we've added some things this year that's really going to help us. Adrian
Burt's name, his nickname is Milk. Why is it Milk?
It was something when he was a young kid. It was he's an unbelievable athlete. He's a great kid. He's fun to coach. He's probably one of the most I don't know what you want to call it, one of my most favorite kids I've ever coached. He just has that great personality, works hard. He's fun to be around, and he's a talented kid.
Coach, we wish you the best of luck this year. I want to keep things moving here, so we appreciate your time.
Oh, thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we'll see you down the line this
Coach
year.
is like, I'm going to go grab a drink.
Good. That's right.
Coach Scott Garcia of the Glen Oak Golden Eagles. Coach, best of luck this season. Absolutely. Coach Scott Garcia stopping by. Again, all of this powered by Sarda here on Q92's Q92 Sports Facebook page and Q92radiosports.com. And joined now by the head coach of the school that's closest to where our station sits, and that's head coach Tim Goodman of the Alliance Aviators. Coach, another season upon you. Last time I checked, you had a guy last year. He was okay at football. I think his name was Zerbrug.
Yeah,
he was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's slinging the pill now for Oklahoma, isn't he?
Yeah. Boomer Sooner.
Yeah, he's having a guy that was in your locker room that is now donning the same colors that Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield wore, and knowing that he came through your system but now is gone. How difficult is it to replace a Brendan Zerber?
Oh, yeah, I mean, you just look at our record book. I mean, you're going to see that there's been one Brendan Zerber to come through Alliance High School in the history. I mean, he rewrote the record book for us. So, yeah, I mean, we know the task. It's going to be hard to replace his output, his leadership, and our kids know that it's going to be the narrative on us this whole year. Who's going to replace Brendan Zerber? And you're not going to do it with one guy. It's going to be a team effort, and I think our kids are going to welcome that challenge.
And does your offense kind of have to transition now a little bit because you might not be able to do the same things you did with him at quarterback? And how is that the offseason leading into the beginning of this season kind of change your mentality of the direction your offense is going?
Yeah, absolutely. Not only Brennan being the talent that he is, but also being a 3-year starter and really knowing the offense inside and out. When you have a guy who you coach for 3 years like that, a lot of times they can call the play before they even get the play call. So just replacing that experience, and then obviously the talent, we put a lot on his shoulders last year. He was a 1,000-yard rusher, threw for over 2,000. So he had the ball in his hand almost every single play. So again, to answer your question, how do we prepare the team to replace that? Again, it's a team effort. Everybody's got to do their 1/11th on the offensive side of the ball. Now we can't rely on a guy like Brandon to bail us out. And so that's just what we've been focused on all offseason, especially this summer.
Yeah, he accounted last year. I'm just doing the quick math. He accounted for 234 points last year for you, which was 26 touchdown passes
Yeah.
and 13 runs.
Oh, well, you cheated him because he was also our kicker, so he's got some kicking points there too.
Then yeah, probably like closer to almost 300. But
yeah,
I mean, I don't want to not shine the light on guys that are coming back too, because I was looking at the pieces that you have back, and it is a team that has a lot of talent. You have Ravon Hawkins, who's going to be back. He was a 500-yard rusher. J.R. Jackson is back. On the defensive side, Malachi Allen Thomas is a beast, it seems like. I mean, you've got pieces to build around, but now it's time for those guys to step up. How hard has it been to say, okay, you're no longer in the wings. This is your time to take the stage?
Yeah, no, and the classes behind Brennan have been a very strong class too. So I don't think we really have to convince them. I think they're anxious to take their turn. We got a lot of injuries last year, so unfortunately for last year, but fortunately for this year, a lot of our younger guys got to play. So, we do lose a lot. That was a big senior class for us, but we also do have a lot coming back. And like I said, I think they're anxious to take their turn and prove that, hey, we're still going to be a successful football team without Brendan Zerberg. They're anxious to prove that point.
That's a great mentality to have, too, going into the season.
Yeah.
Next man up mentality. It's what it takes.
Absolutely.
Coach Tim Goodman.
Yeah.
Best of luck this season, Coach.
Appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you stopping by. Head coach of the Alliance Aviators, Tim Goodman, stopping by the table. Got a couple more coaches out here in the hallway. Jay Rohr is next of the Jackson.
Coach Rohr has been
Polar
patiently waiting, so we appreciate that, Coach.
He has. He's impressed me with his patience and his overall fortitude towards waiting out there. 5-6 last year, Coach. I know maybe not where you wanted to end the season when everything was said and done, but year 2 for you, and now you're going into year 3. How have things changed over those 3 years? I know I've asked just about every coach that question, but I feel like it's a good question because it is going to be different for each team. How have things changed from year 1, where you were then defensive coordinator, now head coach, to now you're the guy? How has that changed the output and just the look of the team in these off seasons?
It's not so much necessarily myself, just what you see in the players and what they get, what they've learned from the previous classes and what it takes. Obviously, these guys were young guys, and seeing again what it's like to play in the Federal League. And we talk each day and every year that this is one of the toughest divisions, leagues in the state of Ohio. And so when you see what it's like to play in it, and they see, where we've been, the first year being a 5-5 team, this past year technically being 5-5 again, and then obviously losing to Berea Mid-Park in the playoffs. But just their commitment, what their commitment's been in the offseason, in the weight room. In my speech in here, we've had 110 guys since January 4th in the weight room 4 days a week. And we've never had that since I've been here. So just their commitment, their dedication, and their understanding of what it's going to take to be successful in this league.
Yeah, Coach, you suffered, quite a few injuries last year as well. Your quarterback went down in week 10. He's coming back, hopefully healthy this year. New offensive coordinator, kind of maybe tweaking the offense a little bit. That's got to be exciting coming into a new year and having all these pieces, but still having some of the leadership that you had the previous year, back this year as well.
Absolutely. And I think that's the key. First and foremost, exactly what you said. We did lose Lucas at a pivotal time in week 10 against North Canton, obviously, but he is back and he is healthy. As I said, our senior class and the guys that were nominated captains, we bring back a lot of key guys and a lot of key positions. And these guys are excited for their opportunity, excited to play together. And again, I'm excited to see them. So.
Besides that, obviously, offense so very important to what you guys do, but you look on the defensive side of the ball as well, and I know you have a nice piece kind of roaming the middle there with Mitch Brocker, and then you also have Nolan Calando, who will play in the defensive secondary. How does that side of the ball look for a guy that is a defensive coach?
Yeah, and I just want to refer back to that previous question. Obviously, Bedry Bardwell is going to be a huge addition from the offensive side. So you are going to see a little bit different style of an offense with him there and so forth. But defensively, you're right. Mitch Brocker and him and Evan Mauser both come back with at least 10 and a half sacks a year ago. And then really the anchor of our defense really in the middle is Jordan Warmath. He's been a 2-year starter, going to be a 3-year starter for us. In the last 2 years, he's been our leading tackler. So bringing some key guys like that back that, again, understand what it's taken, how physical the game is, to have those guys be the leaders of our defense, we're excited for them.
Coach Jay Rohr of the Jackson Polar Bears, We appreciate the time. Wish you the best of luck this year.
Appreciate
Coach.
you guys having me. Thanks.
Thank you, Coach.
Absolutely.
Appreciate
Opens the year at Mentor on the road against a tough Mentor Cardinal team. Final two coaches, I believe, that we have here. Coach Kevin Henderson, the first of the last two from St. Thomas Aquinas, and then we end with the Holy War here. We go from
Aquinas to Central.
Coach Henderson at Aquinas to Coach Lindesmith at Central, but head coach of Aquinas, Kevin Henderson, stepping in right now. Coach, year two for you. And I know last year, I know that anytime you don't win a game in a year, it's tough to look at the end of the year and say, okay, what were the positives? Where was the growth? Where was this? Where was that? But I want to ask you those things. What were the positives and what was the growth that you saw last year?
Well, I think the positive was that we finished the season. That was the first time we were able to finish a season in 3 years without forfeiting a game or something. That was a positive, and the growth was just the kids. As I told them at the banquet, I would ride to a significant place with them just because of their heart and courage that they finished, and they were put in adverse situations, certainly because of their youth, inexperience, and strength. We were definitely not ready to play a schedule as we did last year, but they did it, and we finished.
And that goes a long way too. Sometimes over the skill is having that heart and that determination, and coming off of a season where, you said that they were put in adverse situations, you get diamonds out of pressure, right?
Yeah.
So going into this season, bringing some guys back, and that has to make you feel good as a head coach, knowing that, you were in some difficult areas, but they held strong, and they knew you had their back as well.
Oh, no doubt about it. And the biggest difference for us right now, I think, is the fact that we've been in the weight room since January. Again, we had a lot of young kids playing against, I had one kid, he told me, and it blew me away. He said, I have a birthday next week. This was last season. I said, you're going to be 16, 17? He said, I'm going to be 15.
Wow.
And he's playing a varsity schedule. But he's one of the ones that I have in the weight room. He's getting stronger, and they're buying into what we're trying to do right now. And they're challenging each other and rallying around what we're trying to get done.
Yeah, I mean, how difficult is that, Coach? I mean, when you've got a program that is obviously very proud, like Aquinas is, and the state championship banners are hanging.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they can see them, and they can see the success that's happened there. Is it hard to get kids to buy into that, or is it easy to get kids to buy into that?
I don't know if I can't say that they're buying in because they hear it all the time. Our goals are just like anybody else's goals around the state. Number one, we want to beat our rival. Number two, we want to qualify for the playoffs. And number three, we want to win a state championship. And I have that banner hanging up outside of our weight room, showing them that it has been done.
Coach Kevin Henderson, entering his second year at St. Thomas Aquinas. Coach, best of luck to you this season.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good luck, Coach. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
See you down the line. Coach Kevin Henderson of the St. Thomas Aquinas Knights. Coach Jeff Lindesmith of the Central Catholic Crusaders stepping in now. He might be our penultimate coach. We might have one more coming. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not in charge of that.
No, you're not. It's George. He said Bernie Kosar is stopping by. I don't know if that's true, though. Well, we'll figure it out, George. It's my dad I'm talking about.
Hey, I watched a lot of state championship games with the guy. George.
Oh, George, you did
last
you
year.
Did. Yeah, no,
I did.
I did. I was there. I was there with
you. Were with us. Exactly right.
Fun. Coach Lindesmith, another year for you. 11th season now at the helm. It's been many more than that, helping out in different capacities at Central Catholic. Another season. How do you approach seasons at this point, having coached the years that you have, to try to make it so that each season brings a new challenge, brings something that's different, and you still keep things fresh for the kids and for yourself?
Yeah, I think your kids really help with that. Every senior class is which way you target your team towards. It has different personalities, and you get to know them as they've grown up. So different things I can tell they like. We add in different things. This is a unit of seniors that a lot of offensive linemen. So the big guys like certain things, and we do certain things. We have certain popsicle breaks and things like that they like, and you add a little bit more food. When you got a lot of skill kids that are seniors,
I love it.
You don't do those kind of things. But there's things like that we try to do. But like your routine. They know what we expect of them. So you want your practice routine, your intensity, and things like that to continue to build throughout the summer, which we try to do.
I played back in the day. I played for Warren JFK, a small Catholic high school as well, and I know the camaraderie that I had with my team. It's definitely a family atmosphere, and I was one of those big hogs. I was an offensive lineman, and having that family, and then bringing in that experience at offensive line. You also bring back a couple different running backs as well. Could be, ground heavy and running the football. Is that kind of how your offense planning on looking this year?
Hey, I think we may evolve to that point. We have and we have a little competition in the backfield right now. We returned Grady Noggle, but we have a couple of younger kids that we think can run the ball a little bit. But you're right. I think our strengths may be our offensive line right now. And so early in the season, until some of the skill kids gain enough experience to where I think they'll be pretty good on the edges. I think they're just going to have to learn the hard way, which they usually do. Just because sometimes, we have a lot of kids out this year and we have a large number, but that varsity level number is always lower. So it's sometimes hard for them to practice against some of the speed they may see in the secondary. But I think we'll be ground heavy probably early, and we'll see. But as you guys know, I like throwing a little bit. I like to spread the whole field out. I want to get them horizontal and vertical as much as I can.
So John Stengel,
Yes,
the
sir.
big lineman that you have, 6'8", 320 pounds. Bernie Kosar is going to stop by here in a second. 6'8", 320 pounds. I know he played basketball too. He's not the big, kind of sloppy on his feet kid that a lot of people would think of. He really moves well, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. And he's really improved over the course of from last season to this season. You're talking about 6'8", 320, arm length as long as anybody in the NFL combine this year. That he works hard on his feet. He laterally pulls well. Yeah, he's a force. Very, very good.
Yeah, and it'll be fun to run behind him, right?
Yeah, it will be fun to run behind him because, he can make some holes. He's played for us for 3 years. We expect a lot of him. He's the team captain, voted by our players. So that says a lot about his character. He's smart. He's very vocal. He's an outstanding young man.
Coach Jeff Lindesmith, we always appreciate the time. I can't say enough how much I appreciated watching state championship games with you.
There you go. And you're going to let Bernie come in. And I don't know if you know the story, and Bernie doesn't know. And he knows my sister-in-law, Pat, from the Hall of Fame very well. But Bernie and I played against each other in a regional baseball final in 1981 at North Canton. He was at Boardman and I was at Canton Timken. And it rained on a Saturday, and we had to come back on a Monday and play. That's a long story. And I always tell Pat to tell him that, but that's a long time ago. And Boardman got us 8-6, and we were one of the first city baseball teams to ever go that far.
That's awesome.
So what position did you play?
I was a first baseman. I think Bernie played third, might have pitched a little bit. Yeah.
Did you get a hit on him?
Hey, I don't. How many years
Of
ago?
course.
I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, the answer
I
is
would
yes.
say, yeah, I doubled.
You got to
the right,
say you took him yard.
I
Coach.
doubled the right center. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I legged one out the third. Yeah, exactly. They call me trucker. Yeah, I had a triple.
Coach, we appreciate
You
the
got
time,
it, guys.
my
Thanks
friend.
for all everything
Thank
you guys
Coach.
do too.
Appreciate
Absolutely. Last, but an unlikely guest that we didn't expect.
Weren't expecting this.
We don't even have a graphic
Could
ready
Jake
for
make
him.
a quick Bernie Kosar graphic?
But Bernie Kosar, former Cleveland Brown and former Youngstown Boardman Spartan.
Yeah,
and
Boardman Spartans.
Played for the Miami Hurricanes, the U, in college as well. He's going to be stopping by here in just a moment. It's been so great chatting with all these coaches, again, powered by SARTA. All of this here in Stark County, and so cool that we get to do this each and every year here at St. Haralambos Greek Orthodox Church over here, located off of 25th Street. John Bozeka along with you, Ryan Keller to my left, and in just a moment here, Bernie Kosar. Yeah, I said it. I already said it. I got it in. I knew what I was doing. I'm so excited for this year. Obviously for us, kicks off in a little over 2 weeks between 3 matchups on a Thursday. Central Catholic and Perry will be our FM game. Fairless and Sandy Valley will be a stream game, and Harding versus McKinley will be the third game that first week. And then Friday, we'll have 7 options for you. The FM game, New Philly against Louisville. The AM game, Canfield versus West Branch. and 5 stream games of Buchtel versus Hoover, Green versus Dover, Jackson going to Mentor, Northwest playing Norton, and Smithville playing Tuslaw. That's all in week 1. We're going to get a great look at so many schools in week 1. About the only school that we're not going to see is Massillon, and that's because they're literally playing
across the country.
Across the country. Like, we'd have to fly our private charter jet. The DP Peterson,
the DP3
special, take it across county, the charter jet that we have. Doesn't actually exist.
No, absolutely not.
But it's exciting. It's really cool that another year like this is coming along, and that you just never know what to expect going into year. There's always some different storyline that takes over. Last year, obviously Massillon wins the state title, but this great storyline develops of Canton South with all these seniors that come along. McKinley makes a little run in the playoffs last year. Glen Oak kind of comes and bursts back onto the scene. You have Brendan Zerbrug playing some great ball out in Eastern Stark County.
West Branch.
Yeah, it's always a unique story every year, Keller.
Yeah, there's always, and I was hoping we'd get to talk about this. Like, my favorite thing throughout the year is the big names that are coming back. You know the guys who made a splash last year. My favorite thing about high school football is seeing that underclassman who really hasn't made a name for himself yet, who bursts onto the scene and all of a sudden is doing great things for their program, helping their program get wins. And I love finding the next guy. The guy that, the following year is going to be on those lists of top running backs, top quarterbacks, top offensive line. And that's my favorite thing, is just the excitement going into the season, not knowing who is going to step up, because there's someone on every team who is going to make an impact that you weren't expecting.
We now will welcome in former Cleveland Brown, former Youngstown Boardman Spartan, former Miami Hurricane, Bernie Kosar.
Hey, well, actually, I was a little tardy coming on because literally me and Coach were going over the baseball game from 1981 and stuff.
You remember? Awesome. You probably remember pitch for pitch what happened that day, don't you?
So literally, they were really good in baseball too, and it was like an 8-6, 8-7 game, and got rained out on a Saturday. Played on Monday, and then I was saying to him, we went on to the state semifinals. And that was also the year that Urban Meyer was in the tournament.
No way.
Yeah. And so we all were kind of playing baseball against each other.
That's awesome.
Bernie, I know for you, obviously a great NFL career, a great college career, but it all started with what you did on Friday nights back at Youngstown Boardman. And I don't mean to make a very cliche question out of this, but the importance of Ohio high school football to you. I mean, as I said, you've had a life in football. Where does it rank for you in the importance of your life in football?
Thank you for asking that question. And the way you asked it is, and I'm not just saying this because I'm here tonight or be gratuitous or be nice about that. Because, again, to be blessed to grow up as in a manufacturing town where we were all basically steel workers in the Kosar family, and somewhat lower demographic steel workers in the 70s when the mills were closing. It wasn't overly very glamorous, to say that. And sports and football is really kind of your only way out to get an education and to get to college and stuff, and to kind of think about possibility of a career or a job. You didn't really, at least I didn't really think pro football was an option and stuff for me. And it's kind of eerie that you could play in the national championship games. You could play in the Super Bowl. You could play in some of the coolest playoff games that ever were. And yet you remember all of your high school games, everything you did. And I tell young players, young high school guys, and whether they're listening today or they're out here tonight, and it's more the coaches and stuff. And hats off to the high school coaches, because the influence these guys make in families and young kids' lives is life-changing and life-altering, and hopefully in a positive way. And it was so positive for me that I really feel a responsibility to kind of pass that forward and pass that to younger coaches and younger players, because I'm out there, and one of the other radio stations is out there, and they're there's 3 tables of the Louisville high school out there. And after we were talking with Coach about the baseball in 81, well, 1980 was, I'm a sophomore at high school, Boardman High School, and our first time on the varsity field, we're playing Louisville, okay, for my preseason game. So back then, it was, 80 wasn't exactly the mecca of spread offense and shotgun formation. So Coach Trucker, okay, from Central Catholic, we're joking about, his speed. Well, I'm not going to chime in on that because of my propensity towards slowness. Okay, so for me running the triangle wishbone offense against Louisville in 1980, I thank God that I've been able to to kind of progress a little bit up the football scale since then.
I want to touch on something that you had just mentioned, talking about your coaches. I grew up in Warren, about 20 minutes from Boardman, and my grandfather worked in the steel mills and the same thing. And my coaching staff were like extended fathers to me.
They are to this day the extended fathers.
Yeah,
big brothers. They are your family, and that's the most beautiful thing I think about football.
I learned so much, not just about football, obviously, but life in general from them. And I had the privilege of, once I graduated, I went away for college for a year and I came back and they brought me on the coaching staff, and I got to experience them in a completely different light as a fellow coach with them as opposed to a player. And I learned so much more after that as well, just being able to be around them. So being able to spread that message and trying to get it into kids' minds now that these are life lessons that you are going to take on forever is, I think, so important.
Wow, that's so well said. I want to make what I think is a profound point, but I really want to ask you what high school in Warren you went to.
I went to Warren JFK.
Okay.
Tony Napolet. I don't know
Okay,
if you
yeah.
knew that
So
name.
back in the old days, JFK with some of the old baseball guys, the Timko families were really good there.
Bruce Timko,
Bruce and Andy Timko. Yeah, their dad was one of my coaches.
Okay, I did not know that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as you're talking about the influence of the high school coaches on you, and then seeing the other side of it when you became a coach.
Yeah.
And if that's so blessed for you to have that opportunity, some of the other kids maybe sometimes don't have that opportunity to see both sides of it. But the life lessons that you pointed out, whether it's for the people listening or the people in here tonight, that's really something that I love to talk about.
Yeah.
And football, what you learn in the rectangle of the football field isn't just a football lesson. No. It's a life lesson. And the really good players and the really good coaches really could see the life's lessons that are in there. And so many of these coaches out there, for kids and for parents out there that aren't sure about the sport, the life lessons that you learn from that are life changing. And I know you could say with that, and you're coming from me, a guy who was, 7 years ago told he's 5 years left of cognitive brain function, would have had a meltdown if he was going to be coming to do an interview unprepared, wouldn't have been able to say cognitive, the inability to enunciate, articulate, communicate really wasn't there. Some of the other diagnoses I've had over the last 6 months, says people say, well, don't you regret playing football? Not at all. As I get into the late third quarter, early fourth quarter of my life, this is almost a life lessons. And, whether I thought when I was a youngster that it was going to be at this stage where you're just signing autographs and showing up here just to have fun, as opposed to maybe you were put on this earth for this fourth quarter to really have learned these lessons from what football taught you. And again, I'm embracing some of the injuries because I wouldn't have figured out how to heal myself if I didn't have some of these issues going on.
I mean, you talk about just perseverance too. I mean, that is a huge lesson that you learn in football, the strength and perseverance. And, if you didn't play, you might not have had that lesson right now.
So well said. You know what? It's almost like I showed up at the production meeting here, the perseverance. And I'm not just saying this to look good or about me here. It's for people deciding what to do. It's early August right now. It's so easy now for these kids who are going to go out to 2 days again tomorrow and start getting ready for their scrimmage games this upcoming weekend to want to stay home and play video games and rest. It was torture out with the rain yesterday and the heat. I absolutely get it. But those life lessons that you learn, and I commend the coaches and I commend the young players that get up and want to make themselves better with that. And they're really learning these lessons now. And the perseverance of when we all want to pretend that life's going great and want to pretend I'm perfect and I'm perfect now. There's always, for you young people out there, there's always bumps in the road. And football absolutely teaches you not to curl up and die, but to get off the ground and do the best you can.
Well, and I want to say too, and then Bernie will let you be on your way. But my dad is the one who brought you over here. He was
all right,
our
man.
runner, George,
Awesome,
and
man. Congratulations.
Because
That's cool.
because I grew up a Browns fan and watching old highlights of you, and he's a football historian himself, and because of that, I always remember hearing the stories of the adversity that you would face of drawing a play up in the dirt, or you had to tape 2 fingers together, or
rubber band fingers.
Yeah, you had to
look at these things.
You had to do all of these different things to get through it, and now passing those stories and those lessons down, that lesson in adversity, how important is that to be able to reflect that to the younger generations?
Well, I almost feel, yes, it's important. And I'm not trying to be on a pedestal or here we are at an awesome place of worship. So I'm not trying to jump on a pedestal or a homily here and give the sermon. But it really is almost a response.
Bernie Kosar's Sermon on the Mount. By the way.
Sermon on the Mount. Father Kosar here. But it's almost a responsibility, though, to do that now. It's almost a responsibility to say the issues I was going through and not run from that. I was taking most of the century 60 different pills a day and figuring out how to get off of that. And if football was a big part that taught me how to do this. And one of the things I'll talk about, whether it's here today as we're wrapping up or when we go in there, it's awesome. Jimmy Johnson had a line, somehow, some way, find a way to make a play. It's somehow, some way, figuring out a way to get healthy and make a difference right now. Howard Schnellenberger and Don Shula used to say, the way you do little things is the way you do all things. Every day you don't stay the same. You get better or worse. You're never neutral. I always want to get better, from football, because they ingrained that into me in a very positive but violent way. Okay, that would probably have them arrested today. So I'm not saying that's probably for the people out there. Why didn't you coach? How come you don't coach? Well, some of my coaches, some of the things aren't really meant for radio and TV right now in terms of the terminology. And again, in the late third quarter, early fourth quarter of my life, I'm into the spiritually and healing, and that doesn't exactly mess sometimes with the convergence of some of my old coaches' conversation, especially in a place of faith right here.
Bernie, we appreciate you dropping by. We appreciate you being part of this. Great to chat with you, even just for 10 minutes. And thanks for being here, and thanks for reflecting the message to the folks of Starr County and the younger kids too. It's really important.
This was awesome.
Awesome, guys.
Yeah.
You matter.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
Bernie.
much.
Thanks.
We really appreciate
Thanks for stopping by, and always love hearing stories from Bernie Kosar when he played with the Cleveland Browns and whatnot. And I'm of course grinning from ear to ear because being a Browns guy,
I actually have a picture with Bernie when I was like 4 or 5 years old that I still have at my house.
And I think we're actually going to get a photo here with Bernie right now. He's going to jump in here while we're live on here. He's going to jump in here and chat with us as we're doing this right now. Thanks to Bernie for stopping by here and making this possible.
This was awesome. Thank you so much.
Bernie Kosar stopping by and being part of this. Keller, I think we're going to wrap this up here in just a moment. Well, I think Keller's going to try to get a picture now for us too. Dad, jump on in here real quick. Oh, it's just Keller and him. Just Keller and him that are getting the picture now. So Keller and Bernie Kosar chatting right now and getting their photo together, and we're getting we're getting all of this here. We're just getting all of this in real time here as it's going. I know. We're swapping them here and doing all of it. And Bernie Kosar, thanks for stopping by and being part of all of this with us and everything like that. And being sure here, let me get a picture with you too, real quick. That way we complete the trifecta. we can't, we can't do this. I'll have him take the photo real quick. And
this was unexpected and absolutely one of the coolest things ever. And I can't help but to talk about the message that he's delivering, just the life lessons you learn in football. Like my knees hurt, my back hurts, but man, the things I learned are just unbelievable. That was cool.
It was, and I think the thing that's unique about what Bernie means obviously to this area and what high school football means to this area is that guys like Bernie are not just a he's not just a football player around here. He is a public figure. He's a person that people look up to and so greatly value his opinion because of the adversity he's been through. And that is I didn't expect this to take this turn tonight, but that is the beauty of growing up in Northeast Ohio. It's I hate to, as I said, put the cliche hat on and be like, yeah, we get our lunch pails out every morning, we go to work. But like that's what you see, and that's the beauty of high school football around here is that you grew up in the Warren area.
Yeah.
And I've always associated Warren football with being guys that come in and just hit harder than everybody else. And like the steel mills were the backdrop to their football because that's what bred the football players.
Yep.
It was kids that worked in the steel mills in the off season and got stronger because of that. The kids that grew up in Massillon and Canton and played at Lake, or you have the farm kids that bulk up carrying hay bales, and like that whole mentality of just the toughness around here. You hear it from the coaches, you hear it in that the weight room is important. And Coach Speakman from Minerva said it so beautifully, saying that we're going to be stronger and better than everybody else because we're going to run to go get water. We're going to run to go off the field. We're going to run to go to the locker room to hear the post-game thing because we want to be stronger and we want to have more stamina than the other team.
And I think that's a really good point too, because almost every single coach who sat down here talked about starting in the weight room and mentioned how this is the most kids we've ever had coming into our weight room off-season program. And to hear that at almost every single coach had mentioned that. And it just goes to show that, you have to start and work your way up. It's not just on the field. It's the off the field stuff that I think really goes that extra distance.
Last person we'll bring in George, our runner, who will be my color commentator all year. It says coach on his thing. He was a coach at one point of basketball.
I was a basketball coach at one time.
Yeah, not a football coach. George, I know you got to listen to a lot of it tonight and got to be here and see it, and you brought over Bernie. Thank you for that, and thanks for everything. Just your thoughts on things you've heard and your expectations going into this year.
I can't wait. 2 weeks away, Thursday night. We got our first game, and it's hard to believe we just finished last year. With Canton South and Glenville was our last game we did last year, and it's hard to believe that the year's here again. And here we go. And I really enjoyed hearing Bernie talk and just some of the things he talked about. The effect that playing football had on his career, and some of the things I'm sure he's going to share with the coaches and the families out there tonight. So he just. Northeast Ohio loves Bernie, and when everybody heard a couple of weeks ago about his illness, it was like the whole area just it was a mass support for him. He's just that kind of figure around here.
Well, and as I said, and I didn't mean to like bring the point up of like as if saying he's some sort of superhero, but like I just remember being a little kid.
To a lot of people, he was.
Yeah, I remember
their superhero.
I remember being a little kid, and I remember like my dad pulling out his like 1986 brown sweatshirt that my brother now wears because it doesn't fit anybody but my brother because it's been washed so many times. And like I just there was this sense of pride about that because he was a Northeast Ohio guy and because he resonated with the people around here. And I think, at the end of the day, that's that's what the beauty of this is that these coaches, they resonate in these communities because a lot of them are from the communities and they grew up in the communities, and you see that, and that's the beauty of high school sports.
How many coaches do we have that are coaching at the schools that they played for?
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many of them in this area where, yeah, this is where I played. This is where my family played. And now they are the coaches, and they've got kids who are coming up through the same system. So these communities are so tight knitted. And it's amazing.
Well, it's like Lake. Look at it. You've got a kid in Charlie Christopher, whose dad, Matt Christopher, was the player of the year and went on to Ohio State. Could have played in the NFL, but had injuries get in the way. You have Ryan Lippy, whose dad was a legend at West Virginia, who now, Ryan Lippy is a star at Lake. You see the names come down through, and, you see it at McKinley, you see it at Massillon, you see it at Canton South. Last year when we were at the one Canton South game, their running back from the early 60s, Frank Dugan, was there.
Yeah.
And we talked to him before the game, and he one time scored 8 touchdowns in a game at South.
Wow.
And he said to us he would take away all of that for them to go 10-0. And they did go 10-0. And he was so proud because once you play in the community, you never leave that community.
Yep.
You talk about your JFK days all the time.
And it's stuff that
Coach
resonates
Napolet probably still rings in your head
all the time.
Yeah,
all the time.
Just like Bernie said, you never forget your high school.
Never.
You never forget
And
those days.
it's wasn't just Coach Knapp. I mean, I still know all of our assistant coaches, and if I see them, I light up. I immediately get excited. They still know who I am as well, and even the kids that I played with, those are relationships that I'm going to have for as long as I'm alive. We still talk about our high school games, our senior year, and as soon as I see them, that's what it immediately goes back to. And we might not see each other as often as we did back then every single day at practice, but I mean, those are relationships, memories, and experiences that you'll never forget.
It's because you're going through those formative years together.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing.
Emotional.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Ryan, great job.
This was awesome.
Yeah. I don't know what we're doing
awkward.
there. I wish that would have never been on camera. George, great job.
Hopefully it wasn't.
George,
Hopefully.
great job tonight.
Yes,
Jake,
thank you so much.
Jake
And
Martronia, right? Jake Martronia, right? Is that how your last name is pronounced? I don't know how to pronounce your last name.
Matronia. Yeah.
It
sounds like a liquor.
He is Matronia Liquor.
Yeah.
He is the most unsung Q92 member of all people. He just rides under the waves and keeps us moving. And
we appreciate everyone who joined us.
Yeah.
Powered by Starter here today. Unfortunately, there were some coaches that we weren't able to get to today, but keep with us, and throughout the season, I'm sure we're going to have some interviews.
Yeah, I had Coach Hall all lined up, and he got waylaid.
You should have seen George out there. He was tackling.
I was watching him running back and forth.
He was like a middle linebacker, just patrolling sideline to sideline.
Yeah,
just hitting coaches left and right.
Well, you'll get to hear from Coach Hall on next in 2 weeks. High school football, 2 weeks from tomorrow.
Yeah, 2 weeks from tomorrow opens up Canton Central Catholic versus Perry. Our radio game that night on Thursday the 22nd. Clint Scroggs, Jim Ballard, Ryan Bevere on the sideline, Harding at McKinley, Ryan Keller, Mike Voorhees in the booth for you with that game. The Pups open up on a Thursday night this year, and then George and I will be at Sandy Valley for the small school battle, the Gamble-Sarbaugh battle that has become between Sandy Valley and Fairless. We can't wait to kick all of it off. For Ryan, it's Keller in the afternoon.
You just call me Keller.
For Keller, for Jake, for George, for all of the coaches, for all of you, and for our sponsor, SARTA, thank you for riding along with us tonight. Had to get it in one more time. We'll talk to you in a couple weeks when high school football kicks off on Q92 and Q92radiosports.com. Have a great night, everyone.